Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna and this is Read and Play, the series where I review fantasy books while playing video games. And today I would like to talk to you about the first volume of a fan favorite fantasy series, Assassin's Apprentice, the first book of the Farseer Trilogy, which is part of the realm of the Elderlings series written by Robin Hobb. I'm also continuing my Dark Souls 3 playthrough in Irithyll of the Boreal Valley, playing as a pyromancer. I asked you guys on Instagram which questline should I choose for Anri of Astora, and you guys voted for, well, yeah. So we're gonna start doing that today and you will see the actual wedding in a few weeks. If you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe and press that notification button. I also asked you guys if you want to see the series storyline and I added that one as well. Anyway, let's get back to Assassin's Apprentice and without any further ado, let's dissect this story. Assassin's Apprentice is the story of Fitz Chivalry, the bastard son of a royal who trains to become an assassin in order to safeguard the throne from behind the scenes. This is told from Fitz's perspective in first-person epistolary format, and he kicks off his story with the day when he was 6 years old and his maternal grandfather took him to the Farseer's army base in Moonseye, which was under the command of the king's second son, Prince Verity, and he revealed that Fitz is the bastard son of the king invading Prince Chivalry. His presence caused quite an uproar, due to which Chivalry had to abandon his position as king's invading, and he was forbidden from getting in contact with his own son. Fitz was left under the care of his father's loyal servant and stableman, Burrick, who raised him as a stable boy. Although he developed a bond with his uncle, the new king invading Prince Verity, his other uncle, Prince Rhaegal, seemingly despised him and constantly mistreated him. During his childhood, Burrick discovered that Fitz had a forbidden magic ability, and he handled that situation pretty terribly. As Fitz grew older, he agreed to become a king's man, whose role is to take care of the royal family's business, so he met his new tutor, Chait, who taught him how to do exactly that. Aside from that, he also had to learn basic combat and the skill, which is a magic ability which allows its users to share thoughts and strength. The story doesn't only focus on Fitz's education, his conflicts with his skill teacher, his job as a king's man, and his complicated family relationship, but also the attacks of some raiders who rampage through villages and towns. I absolutely loved reading this story. Although it's not an action-packed plot, there's constant tension and attention-grabbing moments. Unfortunately, this has raised my expectations way too high for the resolution. I expected a big bang at the end, but the final chapters were underwhelming and they felt rushed, which was mildly disappointing. Regardless of that, I love the plot of this book. The world building has a basic medieval European base, flavored with some political intrigue and a soft magic system. The roles surrounding the royal family and the dynamics between them are well thought out, which comes off really well in people's attitude towards Fitz. I enjoyed discovering the traditions, beliefs, laws, and overall political structure throughout the story. I especially loved the idea of Fitz's and Chait's role as a king's man. Also, it is important to note that each character's name has a significance. It is the tradition of the six duchies to name children after a virtue. This is thought to impress the importance of that virtue on the child, so that he or she will grow up embodying that virtue. While it is practiced throughout the kingdom, the noble houses are particularly fond of that tradition. So overall, the cultural world building is interesting, which becomes even more evident around the end when a different culture, the Mountain Kingdom, is introduced, showing the contrast between the beliefs and mentality of the Farseers versus the ones from the Mountain Kingdom. The geographical world building is also cool. I simply love the map in this one. The magic system revolves around the concept of human connection, which I totally dig. It has little to no explanation to its exact way of functioning, which might be a bit of a letdown for those who are more into hard magic systems, but I was okay with the way it was presented. There are two primary types of magic skills which were used in this book, and those were the skill, which is a type of telepathy which allows its users to hold conversation at great distance and to influence the minds of others. The other one is the wit, which can be used to create a telepathic link to an animal and share thoughts and senses with it. Plus, it can also be used for sensing the life force universe of individuals. I also enjoyed the things Fitz learned during his lessons with Shade, which were all well rooted in the world building. So overall, it had depth and essence, and it's really fun to discover throughout the story. The story revolves around a handful of interesting characters with believably written dynamics between them. Fitz is the one telling the story from his own perspective, and he seems to be quite an unreliable narrator. Although he doesn't have a notable charm, he is a lovable character simply because of his circumstances. He is a lost child abandoned by the world, desperately trying to find his own place and to connect with someone, but with no success. He doesn't have much character agency for the most of the story since, given his identity and family situation, he is constantly pushed over, used as a tool and oftentimes abused, which makes the reader care for him and feel bad for him. But having no agency doesn't make him a boring character, quite the contrary. He is lovable the way one would love a kicked puppy, you know. His choice of love interest is a bit questionable, though that just makes him seem like a realistic teenage boy. His emotional struggles and pain are presented in a realistic way, and there's a lot of focus on his fragile emotional world. So overall, he's a lovable and interesting character. I also like the antagonists. The way they behave towards Fitz made me despise them, and I love to read about well-written animals and hating on them, so that aspect was great. There were some questionable characters, such as Burrick and Jade, but those question marks around their motivations were exactly what made them intriguing. My favorite one is definitely Verity, Fitz's uncle. He was purely charming, and his devotion to his role as king in waiting made him endearing. To sum it up, the character writing in this book is excellent. I asked my followers on Bookstagram to describe Robin Hobb's writing in 3 words or less, and all the replies that I got were something like this: intricate, detailed, beautiful, yet not flowery or redundant, or clean, character-driven and well-paced, or simply heartbreaking. And I kind of agree with that. In a fantasy book critic interview, Robin Hobb described her own writing as leisurely and intimate, which are way better words than anything I could come up with. Given that the book is more character focused, the writing is poetically emotional. The wording is just so beautiful, it's a joy to read it. I'm generally a quick reader, but when it comes to Hobb's writing, I prefer to go slow and just wholly enjoy it. Every sentence is so well put together, and it feels like each word put down on paper adds value to the overall creation. I just love the way it can drag me into its world, like in this quote from the beginning. Almost it is like a puppet show beginning. Yes, I can see it thus. The curtains parted, and there we stood before the great door. The old man lifted the brass knocker and banged it down once, thrice on the plate that resounded to his pounding. And then from upstage a voice sounded, not from within the doors, but from behind us, back the way we had come. I love the dialogues and the focus put on the reaction of each character to each other's words and actions. The scene settings were full of sensory descriptions, like describing the warmth and the scent of a room, which can easily drag the reader into Fitz's shoes. The character descriptions are extremely well detailed, like in Shade's first appearance. The man himself was strange. His robe was the color of undyed sheep's wool that had been washed, but only intermittently and not recently. His hair and beard were around the same hue, and their untidiness gave the same impression. Despite the color of his hair, I could not decide how old he was. There are some poxes that will scar a man's face with their passage, but I had never seen a man marked as he was, with scores of tiny pox marks, angry pinks and reds like small burns, and livid even in the lamp's yellow light. There are quite a few memorable quotes which stayed with me ever since I read it, like, "When you cut pieces of the truth to avoid looking like a fool, you end up looking like a moron instead." Or, "Don't do what you can't undo until you've considered what you can't do once you've done it." So to sum it up, the writing in this book is simply beautiful. In conclusion, this is an amazing book. The plot is exciting, the characters are believable, meaning that the good guys are endearing and the bad guys are hateable. The world building is interesting as well, though it's not quite that elaborate since the story is more character focused. I guess my only complaint is that the ending is a bit rushed and underwhelming, but all in all it's a cool book, which is 100% worth reading if you're interested in this type of fantasy. So I give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. As for the rest of the series, well, for the next book the scoring goes a bit higher for me. But enough about my opinion. Have you read this book or are you planning on reading it? Tell me in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Next week I'm gonna review the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin in the Irithyll dungeon, and I'm gonna fight a very interesting boss. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe and press that notification button. I honestly appreciate each and every one of you who watch my videos. If you're interested in more booky stuff, check me out on Instagram. I post reviews, polls, quizzes, and bracket elimination games. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.